Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. And this movie, directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring Peter Sellers in two roles, George C. Scott and Slim Pickens. The IMDb plot summary is: an insane American general orders a bombing attack on the Soviet Union, triggering a path to nuclear holocaust that a war room full of politicians and generals frantically tries to stop. So that logline actually could have been from a thriller. Yeah. But this movie is a comedy. And when I first saw this film, I was pretty young. I don't remember exactly when I saw it. It was definitely before I knew who Stanley Kubrick was, who's now my favorite director. And it was the first time I remember seeing a movie that I was told it was a comedy. I think my dad was the one who showed, oh, you should watch this. It's a famous comedy. And I'm like, I was watching this, like, how is this a comedy? Like, it was my first exposure to kind of satire and this dark humor. And this realization that comedy isn't just like UHF movie that I mentioned earlier with people falling down or getting sprayed in the face or, getting their finger cut off and blood flying everywhere. It can say really important things. So that was the first thing that really like surprised me about this. And it actually is very funny. Like, as there are definitely bits in this film that are genuinely funny, but it does have a dark edge, and it's that satirical edge that really influenced me a lot. And a lot of the humor that I like is humor that deals with very important and major topics. It's kind of interesting too. This film was based on a book that was a very straight-laced thriller about what would happen if, in a nuclear holocaust.
Really? Wow.
And this book was adapted, and Kubrick and his screenwriters, decided to turn it into a comedy. But no one remembers the book. Like, that thing is completely forgotten. But this movie lives on even now, even though, hopefully we don't live under as much of a threat of nuclear war as they did in 64. But, it still resonates. And I think that, to me, when I realized that, I was like, wow, so this shows really the power of comedy. Like, you're making a very important statement about humanity, about the systems of power. Something else that I thought this movie does a great job in that also influenced me a lot too was the making fun of authority. Like, there's no authority figure in this movie that's not like a bumbling idiot and who's not really silly. And it shows to me that you might think, oh, this is the president, like, we must trust him, or these are the generals, they're very smart, they know what they're doing. In actuality, they know nothing, and that they're just as much of buffoons as anyone else. And in fact, the most like kind of straight-laced, kind of by the books people are the infantrymen, or not infantry, the soldiers that are flying in these bombers, and they're just carrying out their mission, which also then does make you think about like what, it's a mission, but a mission to destroy the world, and how they can go about it in such a straight-laced way and just a matter-of-fact way. There's definitely a lot of humor and also commentary in that. Yeah, so for me, those are definitely the biggest takeaways of the importance of comedy and in terms of what it can say and what it can do while still being funny. And then also that the authority figures are the ones to be mocked, that we should be mocking and making fun of these authority figures, saying the emperor has no clothes, calling them out on that, and using humor to do it is a much more effective way than anyone else. And there's a lot of layers to this film. We could dissect it in many different ways, but I wanted to kind of take one piece out of it, which was the comedy element, and talk about that and how important that was to me. And again, I still watch this movie now and in a way find it more funny because I'm older and have seen some of these systems that this movie mocks and see the ridiculousness in them a lot more as you grow up, and really see that, yeah, not only are these people dumb, but a lot of these whole systems that they've designed actually are pretty silly too. I mean, the whole crux of this film is a system that got designed where if a bomb was dropped, then all of a sudden all the bombs are just going to go off. And it was designed by the Russians as a fail-safe mechanism. And yeah, it might make sense on paper, but if you really think about it, it's absolutely ludicrous. And I think that's what this movie does such a good job in conveying, and something that definitely affected me in not only the types of humor that I gravitate towards now, but just even like politically and how I think about society and authority. I think this movie was a big influence on me there too. So yeah, again, a lot more I could say about this, but I want to keep it just to the comedy element. Just a great film, and still really holds up, I feel.
Yeah, it totally does. I'm so glad you put this on the list, and I kind of had a feeling that you would. I'd never watched this movie before, and I'd always wanted to watch it, so I'm very glad that I finally watched it.
Yeah.
I think I said this at the top, which is I find satire very engaging and it pulls me in, but I can't laugh. There are moments in this movie that are definitely, I laugh because they're clever, but there's something about, because good satire is very real.
Right.
I find it hard to escape from the reality. That said, though, if this movie was done as a non-satire or as a thriller, like you said, I don't think I would be as engaged in it. I mean, I might be, but in a very different kind of way. I'll be engaged in it in a cerebral way. Versus, I think what dark humor does in this kind of a setup is that it exposes, like you said, the craziness and idiocy of people and systems.
Right.
And that's the part that gets really highlighted, which would not be the case if you made this as a thriller. You would be concerned with other things. And that's the power of the movie. So yeah, it's brilliantly made in every technical department, acted beautifully by everybody. It really pulls you in. It stayed with me for days after. Maybe if I watch it, more and more number of times, maybe I'll laugh at it or laugh with it. But on first viewing, it's too real. And how I react to all satire in general. And that's why I think I was happy to see To Be or Not to Be in this one on both of our lists. I can get into the farcicalness of To Be or Not to Be because it's kind of handled with that light touch that I was talking about, which gives me enough of a distance and escape from the reality that I can actually laugh with it. This sort of feels too in it for me to actually laugh. So, but I get it. This is funny, and I'm all for calling bullshit, and I'm all for calling out authorities, as you very well know. We have similar sensibilities in that regard, but yeah, this is not funny to me.
Oh, interesting.
This is very engaging and pulls me in.
Yeah, like I feel that it's definitely a fine line that I feel it kind of walks well. Of you are laughing along with it. And maybe it's easier for me to say that now. Again, this wasn't 1964 when I saw the movie. Actually, similarly To Be or Not to Be, actually, this movie was made when this could have happened.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union was there. Bombs were ready on either side. U.S. could have done it. Soviet Union could have done it. But they made this movie at a time when it probably was pretty unsettling for the people in the audience. Easier for us to watch now, where it's not as much of an issue as it was. But it's like, for me, kind of like what you were saying too about the thriller aspect of it. It just like, you wouldn't catch the fact that the premise of nuclear war in and of itself is kind of funny if you really think about it. And I think that's what this movie walks so well, especially the end when the whole world blows up and they play the We Will Meet Again song on top of that. Is just, I laugh at that, but I get also why it's hard to it's a tough needle to thread. And if satire is not something that is usually in your cup, is your cup of tea, that at least you liked it and you found the movie to work. Even on a technical level, like Ken Adam, who did the production design, that war room set is one of the best sets I think I've ever seen in anything.
And just cinematography, right?
Amazing.
Like where the camera is positioned, how the whole thing is lit up. It's just brilliant. I mean, of course, it's Kubrick, and he, gets the best people. So,
no, he does.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.